Hey everyone, it's Lisa here from the podcast Her Healing Hour. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your mobile phone or your computer. Number three, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. Number four, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Number five, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the Anchor free app right now or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bye. And just like that, we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to the 6th week of my new podcast titled Her Healing Hour. How are you all doing? How are you feeling? More importantly, how are you all breathing? Truthfully, if you were just to answer that last question that I just posed, I'd be able to gauge where you were at this very moment. This week, we are covering the last of the 6 foundational principles to health and wellness as taught by the esteemed CHEK Institute in sunny California. And that is breath. If you missed the first 5, don't fret. You can always go back and review at any time. And just to recap, the foundational principles that we have covered thus far are hydration, nutrition, sleep, thoughts, movement, and today we're covering breath. But hang on, I've not introduced myself. So, who am I? Well, I go by Lisa, also known as the AlkaliYogi, and I am a certified holistic lifestyle coach with the CHEK Institute and a certified yoga teacher trained in Hatha, Yin, restorative yoga, breath work, and meditation. In fact, you can take a free yin class with me, a free yin yoga class that is with me, on Mondays for the month of February at 6 p.m. on Instagram Live at Alkaline Yoga Retreat, spelled exactly as it sounds. AlkaliYogaRetreats. That's Alkaline Yoga Retreats. I'm also the co-host of 3 upcoming wellness retreats at Usha Village, home to Dr. Sebi. You can stay posted on those dates by visiting us at Alkaline Yoga Retreats. So, breathe, and breathe some more. Today's episode is aptly called Breathe or Die. So, how is your breath at this moment? Are you aware of how you're breathing? Is it shallow? Is it full? Does it feel strained? Or is it easeful? Are you aware that your breath is a real-time report card on how you are feeling in this moment? Most of us have forgotten how to breathe properly. Yep, I'm including myself. How to take a diaphragmatic breath is something that most of us no longer do well. And that means filling in the lower belly, expanding the diaphragm, and then lifting the chest. And in that order. Did you know that you can direct your breath to target points in the body that are experiencing discomfort or maybe too much sensation? Some may call it pain. I would call it pain because I have a very low pain tolerance. But focused breath can actually lower your physical pain body. And focused breath can lower mental pain body. And lastly, focused intentional breath can also lower emotional pain body. You probably already knew that. I doubt that I'm telling you something new, but the question is, have you applied it? Because wisdom is when you apply the knowledge and the skills you have to improve your day-to-day, helping you cultivate and create a life you love. I'm currently reading a book. It's called The Science of Prana. Prana, by the way, is a Sanskrit word for both breath and spirit. The book itself is called Prana Science, Decoding Yoga Breathing by Dr. Sundar, and forgive me if I've mispronounced his last name, Dr. Sundar Balasubramanian. Let me try that again. Balasubramanian. Don't worry, I'm going to include it in the show notes. His brilliant book delves into the deep connection between breath and stress. Also, he talks about how regulated breath can prevent Alzheimer's or even cancer. Isn't that amazing? It's really not that far-fetched. I often say in my yoga classes, that breath, it is the first sign of life that we look for in a newborn. And it is also the last sign of life when a person transitions out of this life. If it's that relevant at the beginning and at the end of our experience in this body, you can bet that it is just as relevant for all that time in between as well. Your breath is quite literally your life force, your spirit. And when your breath stops, your life force stops, and your spirit leaves the body. So we're coming up to a year, in this pandemic. And whilst I don't wish to get into all of the negative effects of how this virus is being reported and maybe even marketed, I do want to state that it feels as though our breath has been attacked during this time. We're not only encouraged to keep 2 meters apart and social distance, but we've also been told that we have to wear masks anytime we're in public or around other people. One of the implications of wearing a mask for an extended period of time is that you end up breathing your own human waste. Your CO2 is meant to be expelled, exhaled, not inhaled. In fact, CO2 is the stimulus that drives us to breathe. Excess CO2 in the body informs the brain that you are in an unsafe environment. Also, it acidifies the body and the brain, leading to inflammation, which in turn impairs cell function, adds stress, and will lead to mental health problems. Remembering, and I've split that up because you are bringing 2 together that were once together. So remembering this has brought breath work to the forefront of my attention and intention. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it's also my biggest challenge and my greatest teacher. Full stop. Last week I mentioned that in the past, I have suffered from debilitating depression and anxiety. I'll even admit to having attempted suicide. I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not ashamed of this. Because there have been times where the pain that I've experienced far outweighed my desire and passion to live life. I'm choosing to share this because I want to give context. This past year has been one of many highs and lows because there have been many changes that came about that I had not anticipated. And for the first time ever, I feel like I could probably speak for billions of us when I say that 2020 didn't exactly pan out as expected. But it's not a total loss. Far from. It was a lot of change that I had not prepared myself for, that I wasn't expecting. And at times, major life changes like that would have been triggers for my depression. But despite a major international move that took me away from Brooklyn and back to Canada, despite a suspended business, and despite extended periods of time with no income, I continue to wake up each morning and have the energy to keep moving. I found grace in my breath. My breath has been my mercy. 2020 ended up being not the year that I thought it was going to be, but it was a fruitful year nonetheless. A year full of certifications. I think I learned and earned nothing short of 4. And at the time of this recording, and it's February 2021, I've already completed another certification. And guess what? In breath work. So it appears that the ancestors brought my life to a complete standstill for a reason. I needed to become all of the things I have been studying for the last 15 years so that I could master them and teach them. And to get even more personal, this month has been trying. Maybe not surprisingly, given Mercury is in retrograde. But historically, when a time like this would normally have me vibrating quite low, which to me is the definition of depression, again, I have found a way to forge through, to not revert back to my old patterns and the old conditioning that really allowed for the pain that I was experiencing to flourish, for the anger that I was feeling to flourish, for just the negativity to thrive. And that's been thanks to the source, the one source, the all. Call her God, call her Allah, call her the universe, whatever name you want to give her. Because just in the nick of time, I had an opportunity to take this course. And that course ended up being my medicine. The way it has helped me with my mental health challenges is priceless. I would have paid millions of dollars for the tools that I now have that I can cultivate and that keep me from creating hell on earth for myself. And for the first time in my life, I know how to self-soothe. And I did it all through breath. Empowering myself to take myself from a sympathetic, which is a fight or flight state, to a parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, without the use of cannabis. Life is going to be hard, yes, absolutely. But it could be more simple than we make it out to be at times. And that's mostly the mind's doing that's making life complicated. Because if you listen to last week's episode, you know that the mind is a constant, incessant stream of thoughts, over 60,000 a day, most of which are negative. All the chaos and the confusion is created by the mind, and it's too much. I have found now, much later in life, but still grateful, that the way to counter that is, as stated in last week's episode, bring your focus back to the breath. Follow the breath. It's the expressway out of monkey brain. It gets you right into the body. So, your breath can literally connect you to heaven, taking you out of the hell that your mind can conjure up. And when you master the best technique for yourself, you know that you'll always have the skill, no matter where you are, to bring yourself back to calm, to breathe yourself back to Zen. And yeah, you'll need to practice it daily and for the rest of your life. But isn't that better than taking antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication? I've taken both, so I'm not here to lay blame or judgment. I'm not saying that they can't help. I'm just saying that we also have an internal medicine cabinet within our own bodies. And if we are reminded how to unlock it, magic will unfold. Quick side note, I wish doctors' roles included helping us use these tools that we were already born with. But I suppose that wouldn't be as profitable for the sick care industry, which has unfortunately become tainted by Big Pharma and their drive for profits, even if at the expense of patients. To me, I just ask, what are doctors for if not to bring us back to whole? Because they've replaced the traditional medicine people, they've replaced shamans, and they've replaced healers in the West. But still, or rather, but unfortunately, the third leading cause of death in the United States after cancer and heart disease is medical harm, medical injury. The third leading cause of death. Anyways, I veered off the path. Surprise, surprise. So, what I'd like to propose to you today is that you find a practice that you love. Just like there are many styles of yoga, vinyasa, Iyengar, there are many different styles of breath. From Wim Hof to alternate nostril breath to sweep breath. And you can read up on most of them, or even find a YouTube tutorial to guide you. My advice is try at least 3 or 4 before you settle into any one, because what soothes one person may not necessarily soothe another. All bodies, after all, are not the same. They're as individual as a person, which is why, by the way, a one approach for all, i.e. one diet, i.e. one vaccine, it simply doesn't make sense. But again, I've digressed. And when you have found that breath practice that connects you to yourself again, make it a daily habit. It's no different than eating well and drinking well. It requires your daily devotion, we'll say. But it doesn't require a lot of time. You can begin with as little as 2 minutes a day, in the morning or night. And know that it may bring up a lot of emotion, right? Especially if you're new to breath work. But just remember that emotion is energy in motion. And so you want to keep it moving. You want to let it pass through you so it can move on. You don't want to suppress it. And so, yeah, it may bring up a lot of emotion. It may even make you feel uncomfortable because not many of us breathe at full lung capacity, and certainly not regularly at full lung capacity. It might even make you a little bit lightheaded because the brain is not accustomed to having so much oxygen, quite frankly. All of these things, it's okay. Just know that you have to be patient with it, because the reality is you're probably undoing decades of shallow breath work that wasn't doing anything for you, right? And so it took you time to develop these types of breath patterns that you develop. And so it's going to take you some time to undo them and rewire yourself. But once you've started and you are comfortably doing 2 minutes a day, then gently increase the increments by 1 minute each week. Eventually, you might find that you're up to 10 or maybe 15 minutes of breath work a day, maybe even more. I mean, after all, it's free medicine, so don't limit yourself. Have at her. And then take your practice into your life. By practicing your breath technique of choice during times of distress, actually applying the skill set to help you cope in real time and in real life. And then watch how radically different your mind and your body, i.e. nervous system, responds to times of stress. For me personally, it's kept my head above water. It's kept the sense of overwhelm that I'm so accustomed to at bay. It's kept the stomach turning and the churning, even the elevated heart rates and dilated pupils away. It's curbed my anger by 90% easily. And I mention that because I'm a fire sign. Shout out to all the Aries listening. So I'm all too familiar with anger. It's helped me to accept things which I cannot change and to surrender to life and its terms. It's basically helped me to limit, decrease, or diminish my ego, if ever so slightly. And that has improved how I digest life. Perhaps some of you listening to my voice right now can relate. I was always the one looking at everyone else as though they had an ability to get through life, which I did not. Like I was missing something. Perhaps I missed a day at school where the handbook to life was provided. I've just always struggled with life. I've struggled with its ups and its downs, my inability to control everything around me. And that sense of no control, it made me seek control elsewhere. I found control in cleaning and organizing. I would say that I am OCD, but I am loosening the grip on my cleaning habits now. And it's through the practice of my breath work, and it's also through the practice of yoga. Overall, my mental health has improved tenfold since I began to apply intentional breath work when things don't go how I expected or wanted. Add that to Dr. Balasubramanian's findings on how breath can also heal the body and be preventative in nature as far as degenerative diseases go. And it really makes you wonder, why are we not being taught this at school from an early age? Had I had these tools in my formative years, I may not be teaching them here right now because my path probably would have taken me elsewhere to a whole other profession. But because of my pain and my hardships, it necessitated my quest, this hunger and thirst that I have for peace and for health in my mind and in my body. So, while I won't break down all of the breath techniques out there for you, I want to bring a few to your attention so that you can begin here and then go and discover for yourself. So, let's talk about square breath. How do you do a square breath? A square has 4 sides. So does this particular breath. The ratio is always going to be 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 or 3-to-3. And so if you just find yourself in a comfortable and seated position, whatever that looks like for you, it can be on a chair, could be sitting on your heels, on a block. Heck, you could even lie down. You don't have to sit for this. If lying down makes you feel more at ease, where you're letting gravity do the work for you and it's pulling you down, then lay down. And then inhale through the nose over 3 counts. Hold at the top for 3 counts. Slowly exhale for 3 counts. And then hold on empty for 3 counts. So you do everything in exactly the same ratio. I just happen to choose 3 counts, but it could be 2. It could be 7. You keep it consistent. You're mimicking a square. So square breath, what's it good for? Well, it's great for anxiety. Take it from me. I've been using it a lot the last couple of weeks. It's great for stress reduction, and it's also really good to focus. In fact, I needed it today to help me focus with this podcast. So that's one that you can try. It's very accessible to you. You don't need any tools, equipment, mat. It's just free medicine. Let's talk about Ujjayi breath for my fellow yogis. If you're a regular practicing yogi, you've probably heard of the Ujjayi breath. It's, again, when we breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, but with a slight constriction in the back of the throat. So it creates a little bit of an oceanic sound. It sounds something like this. So you breathe in, and then breathe in. So it's a slow restriction of the exhale. Beautiful breath. And we use it in yoga because the breath is what informs the movement. Without breath, there is no movement. And the other great thing about the Ujjayi breath is that it immediately calms the mind, because the vibrations in the larynx, so where your voice box is, stimulate sensory receptors that signal the vagus nerve to induce a calming effect straight away. Straight away. How is that for instant results and instant gratification? It also has tremendous immune system benefits. So during these COVID times, feel free to practice your Ujjayi breath on and off your mat. I'm going to now introduce to you alternate nostril breathing, where one cycle is inhale through one nostril, exhale through the other nostril. So you can take your thumb finger, and I'm going to work with my right hand. I'm going to take my right thumb and I'm going to press it against my right nostril and close that nostril as I breathe in through the left nostril. And then I'm going to plug my left nostril with my right ring finger so that I can release my right thumb off my right nostril and exhale. Now I'm going to breathe in through my right nostril. And then I'm going to plug my right nostril with my right thumb. I'm going to release my left nostril with my right ring finger so that I can exhale from the left nostril. This is one of my favorite techniques for breath work. It harmonizes the left and the right side of the brain, which for me is important because I'm a creative person who's also highly cerebral. And so oftentimes I find myself in my left brain, which is not the creative side of me, and I need to get into my right brain to tap into the creative side. And this breath technique has helped me do that on many, many occasions. Also, FYI, it's good for headaches, just like water. Hey, just offering you a different option from taking an Advil or a Tylenol. Listen, any pain medication, I'm not trying to single any one company out. It also helps with memory and concentration, so a couple of more benefits. Lastly, I'm going to tell you about bellows breath. This one has helped me a lot with anger, I'll be honest. For me, this has been the one that has really helped me to cope and manage with anger. And this one is an exaggerated, like a strong inhale through an open mouth. So this is the first time that I'm asking you to breathe through the mouth and not through the nostril. And then an exhale, equally forceful through the mouth. So strong inhale through the mouth, strong exhale. And as you're filling up, everything expands. Your lower belly, your diaphragm, your rib cage, your lungs, everything moves up and out. And then as you blow out, or as you exhale rather, you pull everything back in. Everything contracts. You let out every sip of that exhale. Another great one to be doing on a daily basis, and or if you're feeling intense emotions. It does mimic hyperventilation, but it actually calms you down. And also, it purifies your blood and aids in detoxification. So it's kind of a winner. So I just wanted to share 3 or 4 techniques just to get you started, because if you pull these up online, then it will, you know how the algorithms work. They all work the same. You pull up something that you like and more of the same will come up. So I'm sure that you'll find yourself, or more importantly, the spirits and your ancestors will guide you towards the right breath technique for you. There's, of course, also the ever popular and very effective Wim Hof method, which is great too. So I wasn't intentionally overlooking that. It's just one of many breathwork techniques. So it really is yogi's choice, person's choice, whatever works for you. But find your breath technique for your wellness and well-being. That's what the key is. And I just want to add that the reason why most of the breath techniques require you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose is because the nose has nerve endings that bring you straight away into your parasympathetic. So it signals that the nerves in your nose get signaled when you're breathing slowly and calmly through the nose that it's safe. It informs the brain that it's safe to shift from sympathetic into parasympathetic. So that's why oftentimes we tell people as yoga teachers, as meditation teachers, and as breathwork people that the breath should come in and out through the nostrils. But that is not the only path. We do know that people have restricted breathing for a number of different reasons, including you might have a cold or just congestion. So there are other options available to you. And in fact, the Wim Hof method is not always entirely through the nose, actually. So I was just practicing Wim Hof earlier, and there is some breath that also happens in and out of the mouth. So you have loads of options available to you. I like to give a lot of options because everyone is an individual and will have their own experience and will find what works for them. So I'm going to wrap it up. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of a 6-week series based on these 6 foundational principles to health and wellness as taught by Paul Chek, founder of the Chek Institute. I am Lisa, the AlkaliYogi, and you can reach me at AlkaliYogi on Instagram, spelled AlkaliYogi, or you can email me at AlkaliYogi@yahoo.com. I love getting feedback from you guys. I love your comments. I love your enthusiasm, but also I want to know, what do you want to share? Tell me more about your experiences. Add to this conversation. We finished the first series, but next week I'm going to move on to something else, always in the realm of holistic wellness and well-being. So, as I sign off, I wish you all a tremendous week. Thank you again for tuning in. Can't wait to see what we dive into next in the world of holistic health. Until then, I'm signing off. Your friend, the AlkaliYogi. Bye now.